this is the back cushion, and unfortunately it has seen better days. The little puppy managed to do quite a number on this. This is the inside, and I'm going to try to fix each layer so that it holds firm. On top of here is some of the filling that they've given me. Now I've taken this from the other chair because it's a little bit more robust, and I'm just going to layer that over the top first. I've got to make this as smooth as I possibly can. I don't have any of this netting in my possession. I'm going to just carefully stitch that into place and see if I can get the sides to stitch loosely in place as well, and that should hold this. Carefully catch some stitches back here and over stitch like that along that seam, just to hold that little piece into position. And I'm doing it loosely. When you're repairing things, you sometimes have to use what you've got, and I don't have very much of anything here. If I catch some of the fluff from underneath, that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that. With a bit of luck, it's going to catch most of it. I'm going to just try to get up as far as I can, up to here. This particular style of dacron is sold by the yard, and it's loosely stitched into this framework, and then you just unroll it and you can stitch through the fabric and it holds everything in place, unless the little doggy comes along and eats everything. There's my first seam. Might be able to get a bit higher. No, maybe not. But anyway, that'll hold that, and I'm just going to go through some of the dacron underneath to make sure it's held. Knit that. They stapled that across. I don't staple it, I always sew it. I always think you get a better look if you sew things. I'm going to take it from a little ways back. If you go from here, it's actually in quite good condition. So I'm going to pull that to the side here. It wasn't done originally, but it's going to be done now. So those two together like this, the same way as I did it before. I probably can put some more filler in there, but I'm going to work my way up to that. It doesn't have to be pretty stitches. Nobody is ever going to see these. It's just to hold it all in place. And put a little bit more filler just along there to hold the shape a little bit. I don't think I'm going to get very far, but it will hold to there. It's not perfect, but it will be okay. And I'm just going to kind of knot it to itself up here a few times so I don't have any threads running. And the outside here, I'm just going to have to work on. I have even less to work with, I think. I'm going to just lay those pieces on like that. I'd much rather use what they've got than to put too much new on. Here again, unfortunately this is a little bit chewed. I'm just going to pull this over and round from the back. It's not going to make any difference at all, and just use the overstitching for as far as I can get from that side. I'm going to use this as a base. That's why I want it as close to the way it should be as I can get it. I'm just going to finish off that so it's in place. I'm not sure if I can get any of that to work, which is a bit of a shame because it's a little bit knobbly. Because this cushion is in such bad repair, I've done what I can. I'm actually going to make a second cover to go over it. I'm going to be using this old piece of fabric. I say old, I've had it a number of years. It's not being reused from anything. I want to be able to use front and back, but because I'm not that fussed, I'm going to fold it in 4. You've got to be careful when you do this kind of thing because sometimes you just overestimate or use the wrong fold. So what I'm going to do, put that on the fold of the cotton. I'm going to cut around like this, put the corners in for the top, fold that out and just go on down the sides. I'm going to be giving it a 1/4 inch seam so that it's fuller than the exterior. Cut the selvage off, and if it doesn't quite match, I'm not going to be that bothered. Cut in like that, and I should have a matching front and back. As before, I'm going to just pop the corners in first. Mark the center of your folds. Makes life a lot easier. So your corners go in like that. Try and make them as straight as you can. I'm not going to worry about what color thread I'm using because it's just a liner. Make sure your outside edges are even. I've got both pieces right sides together. I'm actually going to start from the top instead of the bottom. Maybe 4 inches from the top, 10 centimeters. Forward and reverse on about 3.5. I'm going to sew down that edge to the bottom there. And it's about 1 foot width away from the edge, so nice narrow seam to the end. I'm going to go across the bottom. You'll see why I've done it this way in a minute. And then up the second side, same thing. Line up your top corners and finish round about 4 inches from the top. And reverse. I did cutouts on the corners, so all I'm going to do is line the 2 seams up, and as before, just go from one side to the other. They might not be even, so I won't worry about that too much, as long as it's done. And the same on the other corner. Line up your seams like that, and then just go straight across. Turn the case the right side out and open the top like that, and pop this back seat cushion in. I'm going to just slide it in. Keep it as flat as you can. You might need to flip it a few times to get exactly where we want it. I'm going to try to make this as smooth as possible. So I'm going to start on the good side. Pull my corner into place like that, and fold this corner into place over the top. It doesn't have to match on this particular project. The outer edge there just folds over the top, and pin that all into place. And you just work your way around like that, so it's nice and smooth. That should fold in. It doesn't have to be perfect on the corners because they're going to be hidden. And once you've got that in place, just start working across the top and pull that into place too. The reason why I did it this way instead of forcing the cushion in from the base is it's really not a very secure cushion, and I didn't want to have to deal with the stuffing working its way loose. This is the bad end. I've got some more bits that might need to go in. I'll have a look in a sec. Here again, fold the fabric over like that, find your rough edge and pop it over the top. It only needs to be 1/4 of an inch. It will stay more even. So we might need to put some more of this stuffing in here just to fill the space up. Fold that over at least 1/4 of an inch into that pleat there. As it's sewn, you'll find that it will even out. It's just to hold things in place. Work your way from the center to the new end. You might need to pull it at the other end just to make sure that this runs evenly, otherwise you end up with big pleats that you don't want. So there's my next one. It's a slightly rounded top. You have to be prepared for things not going as you want them to. Again, just pull that pleat, fold the fabric into position like that, and pin the next. Now as you sew it, you're going to make it fit. I'm thinking I might need a little bit more stuffing in there, but let me have a look. I'm going to turn that pin round the other way because that keeps stabbing me, and pin it into place. I'm going to have to put a little bit more padding in there. If you look at the original, the better side, it's nice and firm like that, and on this side it's like that. I'm going to pull these ones out. They served their purpose for a little while. I'm just going to pop this open, pop that in, and smooth it into place like that. There we go. Now there's my corner, and that just needs to go over about 1/4 of an inch. And there's my second pleat in position, and then I'm just going to work in here. I'm thinking that will work. Considering it was so bad, I don't know what the gentleman is hoping to get from this pillow. Got my needle threaded. Here's my stitches, and I'm just going to go about 1 centimetre or 1/2 inch back. I like to secure any stitches I've got. I'm also going to make sure that this is constantly under at least 1/4 of an inch. This fabric is so soft it doesn't want to roll, which is really irritating. But anyway, I'm going to pull that into place. Smooth that, and all I'm going to do is go under maybe 1/8 of an inch, about 1/4 of a centimetre, and across the other side like that. And I'm going to just do that opposite sides of the seam all the way. It's called a ladder stitch or an invisible stitch. Just make sure it's even. If it's not even, that's okay. Sometimes the fabrics do different things, but just try to make sure your stitches are even, and then they will hide in plain sight, like that. And if you're ever unsure which side you stopped on, just tug and you'll see. And I usually do about 4 or 5 stitches. When it starts twisting like that, I just put my needle in it to pull it, and then I use my needle to keep it taut, and it just goes into place. Next pin comes out, I'll just move it over like that to make it even, and just repeat. Let's say they're not long stitches, 1/4 of a centimetre, 1/8 of an inch, certainly not more than that. As you come to the corners, just make sure you folded everything underneath and then popped everything on top and over. And when you sew it down, make sure that you go through all the layers of your pleats like this. The pleat doesn't have to lie very flat, but it does need to have all of the pieces, all of the layers in it. Pop all of that back under on the other side. I'm going to just pop this in here and go all the way through all of those layers, and then pop it down here. Then I'm on the short part to the end. Just pull the pleat in, go through all of my layers like that to the back, all the layers through and up, fold everything to where it needs to be, and just carry on down towards the end where your stitching starts. And then I've got one more pin to remove. Pull it slightly back towards the pleat so that it goes in nice and evenly. I'm just going to finish up like this. It should give you a nice smooth finish. Nothing hard, just a little bit time consuming. As I did at the beginning, I'm actually going to go down about 1/2 inch to 1 centimetre on both sides like that. That secures all of that stitching, and I'm going to just overstitch it and take the thread a long way down like that and trim it. Now that should hold everything in. It feels quite smooth, maybe a little bit lumpy in places, but certainly smooth on this side. I'm going to slide it into its new case. Chunky side at the top with the pleats. I'm going to roll it like that. If I roll it tight, it should just go all the way in to its new case, and it pings out as you let it go. And then all I've got to do is make sure it fits into the corners, this end, both sides. I think it will work. I'll see what he thinks, and then zip it up. Now the reason why I did this part first, I need this part of the chair to determine how far the pattern goes on the chair seat. Thank you for joining me with this project. I hope you realise that you can pick and choose which bits of an upholstery project you want to do. In this case we repaired one of the legs and gave new life to the old seat cushion, back cushion and lumbar. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, hit the bell button if you want to see more from me, and a couple of thumbs up would be really appreciated, and then I can see how well I'm doing. Take care, see you later, ciao. This case, something else. Ow. So basically, ow, pull that over. Hey, bad baby.